Love and Chaos in Aisle 9. A short, clean, no-spice, cozy romance story by Lani Evans. Take a break and enjoy this meet-cute between Jess, a single mom of 3 kids, and Luke, a single dad of 2 kids. Sometimes the most mundane tasks can be the last place you look for love. And of course, it's where love finds you. This story is copyright October 2025 by Lani Evans and published by Honey Ridge Tales. All rights reserved. No part of this recording may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form without the prior written permission of the author. This work of fiction is the product of the author's imagination. If you enjoy this story, please check out my channel for more short stories and full-length audiobooks. Click subscribe to not miss any future stories, and click like to let me know this story hit the mark. Links to my social media and website can be found in the description below. Let's begin our story. Part 1. Jess. Jess Langley clutched her rumpled shopping list in one hand while using the other to steer a shopping cart with a squeaky wheel through the Saturday morning chaos of Miller's grocery. The fluorescent lights overhead seemed unnecessarily bright for 9 a.m., highlighting the exhaustion she felt after a week of solo parenting 3 children through the back-to-school transition.
Mom, can we please hurry? I told Madison I'd video chat before lunch,
Clara said, her 10-year-old frame draped dramatically over the side of the cart. Her brown hair was pulled into a messy ponytail, a style she insisted was intentional rather than the result of the morning rush. "We'll be done when we're done, honey," Jess replied, mentally calculating how many more items they needed versus how much longer her youngest son's patience would last. "And stand up straight before you tip the cart over." Clara rolled her eyes but complied, now shuffling alongside the cart with the put-upon air that only preteens could perfect. In the child seat of the cart sat Noah, her 3-year-old, who was currently occupied with an action figure he'd insisted on bringing. His legs kicked rhythmically against the cart, each thump a countdown to potential meltdown.
Mom! Mom! Mom!
Eli, her 5-year-old middle child, called from several feet ahead where he'd wandered despite her repeated instructions to stay close.
Can we get the cheese puffs? The ones in the tiger bag?
"We have a list, Eli," Jess called back, trying to keep her voice steady. "And what did I say about running ahead?" Eli continued examining the chip display, as if he hadn't heard her at all. "Eli Morgan Langley, come back here right now," Jess said, the hint of steel in her voice finally catching his attention. With a dramatic sigh that suggested she was ruining his entire life, Eli trudged back to the cart.
But Madison's mom lets her get whatever snack she wants,
he muttered, echoing his sister's earlier complaint. "Well, I'm not Madison's mom," Jess replied, a response she'd given so many times it might as well be printed on a t-shirt. "And we're on a budget this month, remember?" The truth was that they were on a budget every month. Teaching elementary school music didn't exactly make her wealthy, and the child support from her ex-husband came sporadically at best. Hence the accordion folder of coupons wedged into the child seat beside Noah, organized by aisle and expiration date.
I'm hungry,
Noah whined, his action figure now forgotten as he reached for a box of cookies on a nearby shelf. "We'll have lunch after shopping," Jess promised, gently guiding his hand away from the cookies. "And if everyone behaves, maybe we can get a special treat." The bribe bought her approximately 30 seconds of compliance before Clara started texting rapidly on the phone Jess reluctantly allowed her to bring. Eli wandered off again, and Noah began kicking the cart with renewed vigor. Jess took a deep breath, inhaling the comforting scent of fresh bread from the bakery section. She could do this. It was just grocery shopping, not climbing Everest, not performing brain surgery, just gathering food to keep her children alive for another week.
Mommy, I need to go potty,
Noah announced suddenly, his little face serious. Of course he did. Jess closed her eyes for a brief moment. "Clara, can you take your brother to the bathroom, please? And take Eli with you?" Clara looked up from her phone with an expression of profound suffering.
but Mom,
"No buts. You're 10 now, and I need your help." Jess softened her tone. "Please, honey." I'll get through the shopping faster if you help, and then we can go home sooner. With a sigh that suggested she was accepting a burden heavier than Atlas's, Clara nodded.
Come on, Squirt.
She said to Noah, helping him out of the cart.
Eli, we're going to the bathroom.
She called to her brother, who had somehow materialized in front of a display of colorful snack boxes.
I don't need to go!
Eli protested.
Well, you're coming anyway,
Clara said with the authority of an oldest child, grabbing his hand. As her children disappeared toward the back of the store, Jess allowed herself a moment of quiet. She leaned against the shopping cart, consulted her crumpled list, and started organizing the coupons she'd need for the next few aisles. The relative silence was broken by a crash from the adjacent aisle, followed by a young child's wail and a deep, calming voice saying,
"It's okay, buddy. We can fix this."
Jess smiled to herself in solidarity with the unknown parent. Saturday mornings at Miller's grocery were not for the faint of heart.
Part 2. Luke. Luke Carter was a man with a plan. Get in, stick to the list, get out. Grocery shopping with a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old was not his idea of a relaxing Saturday morning, but necessity had driven them here at opening time in hopes of beating the crowds. That plan was now failing spectacularly.
Daddy, can I get the cereal? Please? It has prizes inside.
Max tugged at the leg of Luke's jeans, his round face earnest beneath a mop of curly hair that desperately needed a trim. "We have cereal at home, buddy," Luke replied automatically, checking his neatly written list. They needed milk, bread, fruit, and something for dinner that wasn't frozen pizza. Not sugary cereal with plastic toys inside.
But this one has dinosaurs!
Max insisted, reaching for a brightly colored box on a lower shelf. Before Luke could stop him, Max pulled at the box, which somehow dislodged the one above it, which knocked into another, creating a miniature avalanche of cereal boxes onto the floor. Max's eyes went wide, his lip trembled, and then came the wail, a sound that seemed impossibly loud coming from such a tiny person. "It's okay, buddy. We can fix this," Luke said quickly, crouching down to his son's level. It was an accident. No big deal.
I didn't mean to.
Max hiccuped between sobs. "I know you didn't." Luke gathered his son into a hug, the small body trembling against his chest. "Accidents happen."
Nice going, Max.
Sophie muttered from where she stood examining the nutrition label on a granola bar. His 10-year-old daughter had recently appointed herself the family's nutrition expert, a development Luke found both amusing and slightly concerning. "Not helpful, Soph," Luke said quietly. Sophie shrugged, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear, a gesture so like her mother that it made Luke's heart catch. 2 years after losing Becky to cancer, these moments still blindsided him.
Should we help pick these up?
She asked, setting the granola bar back on the shelf. "Yes, please." Luke nodded, grateful for her practical nature. "Max, do you want to be my special helper?" Max sniffled and nodded, his tears already subsiding. They had just begun to restack the boxes when a shopping cart turned into their aisle, pushed by a woman with 3 children in tow. Luke recognized her vaguely. He'd seen her at school drop-off, always rushing in as he was leaving. She had curly hair pulled into a messy bun, glasses that kept sliding down her nose, and an expression of barely contained chaos that was intimately familiar. The woman stopped abruptly when she saw the cereal box disaster.
"Oh, sorry, we can go around."
"No, it's fine," Luke said quickly. "We're just cleaning up a small cereal explosion." Her tired face broke into a smile that transformed her entire appearance.
Been there? Many times.
Their eyes met over the scattered boxes, and Luke felt a moment of recognition, not of her specifically, but of the exhaustion, the determination, and the flicker of humor in her eyes. A fellow soldier in the trenches of parenthood. The moment was broken when her youngest child, a boy of about 3, pointed at Max and said loudly,
He made a mess!
Part 3, Jess. Jess hadn't intended to turn down the cereal aisle. It wasn't even on her list, but Clara had texted that they were done in the bathroom and to meet them in aisle 9. And there, amid a scattered landscape of brightly colored cereal boxes, was a man she'd glimpsed occasionally at school drop-off, always leaving as she arrived breathlessly with her brood. He was tall, with broad shoulders, and the kind of strong forearms that came from actual work rather than a gym membership. His dark hair was slightly rumpled, and he had the focused expression of someone accustomed to solving problems efficiently. Beside him stood a girl about Clara's age, and a little boy who was still sniffling from what appeared to be a cereal-related catastrophe. When their eyes met, Jess sensed the connection. Here was someone who understood the beautiful chaos of parenthood, who didn't pretend it was all Pinterest-worthy moments and Instagram-filtered memories. Of course, the moment was interrupted by Noah's tactless observation about the mess, and Jess's cheeks flushed as she corrected him. "Noah, that's not nice. Accidents happen to everyone."
That's exactly what I said.
The man replied, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his mouth.
Mom! You found the cereal aisle without us.
Eli exclaimed, immediately zeroing in on the scattered boxes with the predatory instinct of a child sensing opportunity. "Eli, don't—" Jess began, but it was too late. Her middle child had already darted forward, scanning the fallen boxes like a prospector searching for gold.
Cocoa Blast!
He shouted triumphantly, holding up a box featuring a cartoon monkey.
Can we get this one? Please?
"We have cereal at home," Jess replied automatically.
That's what my dad said too.
The boy next to the man said, his tears forgotten as he regarded Eli with interest.
But this one has a prize.
Eli insisted, pointing to the box.
Mine has dinosaurs.
The other boy countered, pointing to a different box. The two boys looked at each other, then at their respective chosen cereals, clearly calculating which prize was superior.
Dinosaurs are better than dumb old monkeys.
The smaller boy declared. Eli's face darkened.
Monkeys are not dumb. They're smart, and they have tails, and they can swing on trees. Dinosaurs can eat monkeys. Not if the monkeys climb really high.
Boys,
The man said, his voice gentle but firm.
let's focus on picking up the mess first, okay? Then we can discuss the relative merits of monkeys versus dinosaurs.
Jess shot him a grateful look. "Great idea. Eli, why don't you help? I'm sorry, I don't know your names," she said, turning to the man.
I'm Luke,
He said.
and these are my kids, Sophie and Max.
"I'm Jess, and my kids are Clara, Eli, and Noah,"
Nice to meet you all officially.
Luke said.
I've seen you at Westridge Elementary, right? During drop-off?
"Yes, though I'm usually running late," Jess admitted. "And you're always leaving as I'm arriving,"
Dad's always super early to everything.
Sophie said, rolling her eyes in a way that reminded Jess of Clara.
Being punctual is a virtue.
Luke said, winking at his daughter.
Being late is genetic.
Clara chimed in.
Mom says her side of the family has a mutant gene that makes clocks run differently for us.
Jess laughed. "Thanks for sharing that, honey,"
Well, since we're all here now,
Luke said, gesturing to the scattered boxes.
maybe we could join forces. Max and I could use some help.
"Of course," Jess said. "Team effort, guys. Let's get these boxes back where they belong." As they worked together, Jess couldn't help noticing how organized Luke was, systematically restacking boxes by type and size. Clara and Sophie naturally gravitated toward each other, whispering and giggling while they worked. Meanwhile, Eli and Max continued their debate about monkeys versus dinosaurs, though it had evolved into a complex scenario involving time travel and bananas. Noah, not wanting to be left out, tugged at Jess's sleeve.
I help too, Mummy.
"Yes, you can," Jess said, handing him a lightweight box. "Put this one right there on the bottom shelf." Noah took his task very seriously, placing the box with exaggerated care before looking up at her for approval.
Perfect job, buddy.
Luke said, giving Noah a thumbs up that made the boy beam with pride. Jess felt a flutter of appreciation for this stranger, who had so naturally included her youngest. Most people either ignored children or treated them like they were incapable of helping. "Thanks," she said quietly as they reached for the same box, their hands briefly touching. For being kind to Noah. He's at that age where he wants to do everything his siblings do,
I remember that stage.
Luke said. His expression was warm.
Sophie was the same way. Always trying to keep up with her.
He stopped abruptly, shuddering all visible emotions. Jess sensed there was more to the story, but didn't press. They were, after all, just strangers meeting in a cereal aisle.
Daddy, can we get both cereals?
Max asked suddenly, holding up the dinosaur box in one hand and the monkey box in the other.
Then we can have dinosaurs and monkeys. Ooh, yeah.
Eli agreed enthusiastically.
Can we, Mom? Then Max and I can trade the prizes.
Jess and Luke exchanged looks of parental resignation. "One box," they said in unison, then laughed at the coincidence.
But you can each pick which one you want.
Luke added. And maybe. Jess said, pulling out her folder. I happen to have a 2-for-1 coupon for cereal that would make this work. Luke raised an eyebrow.
Impressive coupon game.
Single mom of 3 on a teacher's salary. Jess shrugged. Coupons are my superpower,
Single dad of 2.
Luke replied.
My superpower is apparently cleaning up cereal disasters.
Their eyes met again, and this time the connection was even stronger. Not romantic exactly, but a mutual recognition of shared experience. A voice came over the store intercom.
Cleanup needed in aisle 9, please. Cleanup in aisle 9.
Oops!
Max said, giggling behind his hand.
I think we've got it under control.
Luke called out, though there was no way the intercom could hear him. A few minutes later, a store employee appeared with a broom and dustpan, looking surprised to find the aisle already mostly cleaned up. Sorry about the mess, Jess said. Our kids had a small disagreement about the merits of monkeys versus dinosaurs,
A tale as old as time.
the employee said dryly.
You folks need any help?
I think we're good.
Luke replied.
Just a few more boxes to go.
The employee nodded and moved on, leaving them to finish the cleanup. When the last box was back in place, Eli and Max stood proudly with their chosen cereals, having finally agreed that both monkeys and dinosaurs had their merits. Well, Jess said, suddenly aware that they'd spent almost 20 minutes in the cereal aisle, we should probably finish our shopping.
Us too.
Luke agreed, though he made no move to leave. Maybe we'll see you around school, Jess suggested.
Yeah, maybe.
Luke said.
Or,
He hesitated, then continued.
actually, Sophie and I are taking Max to Riverside Park tomorrow afternoon. They have those new playground structures, and Max has been begging to try them out. You and your kids would be welcome to join us, if you're free.
The invitation caught Jess off guard. It had been a long time since anyone had casually invited her family to do anything. Between work and parenting, her social circle had shrunk to colleagues and a few other harried parents from school. That sounds nice, she said, surprised to find she meant it. What time?
Around 2? We usually bring snacks and hang out for a couple of hours.
2 works for us, Jess said, ignoring Clara's wide-eyed look of surprise.
Great.
Luke said, and the smile that spread across his face made her heart skip a beat.
We'll see you tomorrow then.
When they parted ways, Jess felt lighter, as if the shared cleanup had lifted more than just the burden of scattered cereal boxes.
Mom,
Clara whispered dramatically once they were in the next aisle.
did you just make a playdate with a dad from school?
It's not a play date, Jess corrected, feeling her cheeks warm. It's just kids playing at the park while adults supervise.
Mm-hmm.
Clara hummed skeptically, sounding far too knowing for a 10-year-old.
He was cute, though.
Clara Diane Langley, Jess whispered back.
Just saying what you were thinking.
Clara replied with a grin before skipping ahead to catch up with her brothers. And the most unsettling part was that her daughter wasn't entirely wrong.
Part 4. Luke. Luke watched as Jess and her children moved on to the next aisle, her cart still making that distinctive squeak that would now make it easy to track her progress through the store. Not that he was planning to track her. That would be weird.
Dad,
Sophie's voice broke into his thoughts.
are we getting this cereal or just staring into space?
Luke blinked, realizing he'd been standing motionless, cereal box in hand. Right. Yes. Cereal. Let's finish our shopping,
You invited them to the park.
Sophie observed as they moved toward the dairy section.
You never invite people to come with us.
They seemed nice, Luke said casually, and Max and Eli got along well.
And the mom was pretty.
Sophie added, a sly smile playing at her lips. Luke nearly dropped the milk he'd just picked up. Sophie Carter, that's not an appropriate observation,
What, Dad? You're still Twitter-pated.
she replied with a shrug. I see you learned something from watching Bambi with your brother. Luke wanted to deny it, but what was the point? Sophie was overprotective and lovingly blunt with an air of humor to soften the blows, traits she'd inherited from her mother. Becky would have liked Jess, he thought suddenly. She would have appreciated the other woman's gentle humor and the organized chaos of her parenting style. The thought didn't bring the usual sharp pang of grief, just a soft, bittersweet ache. She did seem nice, Luke conceded. And it's good for Max to socialize with other kids his age,
And it's good for you to socialize with other adults.
Sophie said pointedly. Sometimes Luke forgot that his daughter was only 10. She had stepped into a caregiving role after Becky died, trying in her childlike way to take care of him as much as he took care of her. It worried him sometimes how much responsibility she took on. I socialize, he protested mildly. I talk to people at work all the time.
Talking to other electricians about wiring doesn't count as socializing, Dad.
Luke ruffled her hair affectionately. When did you get so smart?
I've always been smart.
Sophie replied with mock indignation.
You just haven't been paying attention.
As they continued shopping, Luke found himself looking up whenever he heard a cart with a squeaky wheel, half hoping to cross paths with Jess and her children again. But they managed to finish their shopping without another encounter. It wasn't until they were in the checkout line that he spotted her again, 3 lanes over, expertly sorting coupons while simultaneously preventing Noah from grabbing candy from the display and answering a question from Eli. Even from a distance, Luke could see the tension in her shoulders and the weary set of her mouth. Yet there was something graceful about her, too, the way she managed all the moving pieces of her life with humor and patience. Luke had always admired competence, and Jess radiated it, even in the midst of what looked like barely contained chaos.
Dad, it's our turn.
Sophie nudged him, and Luke realized he'd been staring. Right, sorry, he said, moving forward to unload their cart. While the cashier scanned their items, Luke's thoughts drifted to tomorrow's park outing. It had been a spontaneous invitation, one he'd made without overthinking it, unusual for him, who typically planned everything meticulously.
That'll be $87.42.
The cashier said, interrupting his thoughts. Luke paid and began bagging the groceries with Sophie's help. Max, secure in the child seat of the cart, was uncharacteristically quiet, clutching his dinosaur cereal box like a treasure.
Daddy,
Max said as they headed for the exit.
is Eli my friend now?
The question caught Luke off guard. Do you want him to be your friend? Max nodded solemnly.
He likes monkeys, but that's okay. I can still be his friend.
Luke smiled, his heart squeezing at his son's generous spirit. That's very understanding of you, buddy. And yes, I think Eli could be your friend.
And his mom? Is she your friend now?
Out of the mouths of babes, Luke thought. Maybe she will be, he said carefully. We'll have to get to know each other better first. That seemed to satisfy Max, who went back to examining the cereal box with intense concentration. As they loaded the groceries into the car, Luke caught sight of Jess across the parking lot, trying to corral her children while loading bags into a minivan that had seen better days. He raised a hand in greeting, and she waved back, a quick smile flashing across her face before she turned to stop Eli from climbing onto the shopping cart. It was such a small thing, that wave and smile, but it lingered with Luke as he drove home, a moment of hope in the familiar routine of his Saturday.
Part 5. Jess. The rest of Jess's grocery trip passed in a blur of list checking, coupon scanning, and child wrangling. By the time they reached the checkout, she was functioning on autopilot, a well-practiced routine of dividing her attention between 3 children and the task at hand.
Mom, can I have a candy bar?
Eli asked, already reaching for the display. No, honey, we have treats at home, Jess replied, gently redirecting his hand.
But I'm starving!
He complained dramatically. We'll have lunch as soon as we get home, Jess promised. Clara, can you make sure Noah stays in the cart, please? Clara, who had been texting again, sighed but tucked her phone away and took up position beside her youngest brother, distracting him with a game of peekaboo. As the cashier rang up their items, Jess found her thoughts drifting to the encounter in the cereal aisle. Luke had seemed so capable. Not frazzled or overwhelmed, even in the face of a cereal box avalanche. And the way he'd included Noah and spoken to all her children with genuine interest, that was rare in Jess's experience.
Ma'am, your total is $124.76.
The cashier said, bringing Jess back to the present. After applying her carefully curated coupons, the total dropped to $98.23, a victory that Jess celebrated silently as she handed over her debit card. While the groceries were being bagged, Jess glanced around the store and spotted Luke at another checkout lane. He was listening intently to something his daughter was saying, nodding seriously in response. The sight made Jess smile. Too many parents half listened to their children, but Luke seemed genuinely engaged. As if sensing her gaze, he looked up, and their eyes met across the crowded store. A tiny, almost imperceptible nod passed between them, a silent acknowledgement of shared experience. The moment was broken when Noah began fussing, ready to be freed from the confines of the cart. By the time they made it to the parking lot, loaded the groceries, and secured all 3 children in the minivan, Jess was exhausted. But as she was returning the cart, she spotted Luke and his children heading to their car, a practical SUV that somehow suited him. He raised a hand in greeting, and Jess waved back, a quick smile crossing her face before she had to turn and stop Eli from using the shopping cart as a climbing structure. On the drive home, Clara broke the companionable silence.
So, are we really going to the park tomorrow with those people from the store?
Yes, if you all want to, Jess said, glancing in the rearview mirror to see her daughter's reaction.
The girls seemed nice.
Clara said nonchalantly.
Sophie, we're in the same grade, but different classes.
Oh? Have you talked to her before?
A little at recess sometimes. She's good at tetherball.
Jess smiled at her daughter's backhanded compliment. Well, it'll be nice for you to have a friend there.
And Max has the same dinosaur lunchbox as me, for when he goes to daycare.
Eli chimed in from the back seat.
Except his is blue and mine is green. But they're both T-Rexes.
That's quite a coincidence, Jess agreed, her heart warming at her children's enthusiasm. Only Noah seemed unimpressed with the upcoming park plans, having fallen asleep in his car seat, thumb firmly in mouth. As they pulled into the driveway of their cozy ranch-style home, Jess found herself looking forward to tomorrow with an anticipation that surprised her. How long had it been since she'd had something to look forward to that wasn't work-related or a scheduled activity for the kids? The rest of the day passed in the usual Saturday rhythm of unpacking groceries, making lunch, mediating sibling squabbles, and tackling the never-ending laundry. By the time she had tucked all 3 children into bed and collapsed onto the couch with a cupcake she'd managed to sneak into the cart, Jess was ready for her own bedtime. She had just picked up the novel she'd been trying to finish for the past month when her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number.
Hi Jess, it's Luke from the grocery store, serial disaster dad. Sophie reminded me I should probably give you my number in case plans change tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing you all at the park.
Jess stared at the message, a smile tugging at her lips. She saved the number in her contacts before responding. Hi, Luke. Thanks for the number. We're looking forward to it, too. Eli hasn't stopped talking about Max and dinosaurs all day. She hesitated, then added, Thanks again for the invitation. It's been a while since we've had an impromptu park day with friends. His response came quickly.
Same here. Max is excited too. He's informed me that he and Eli are serial brothers now.
Jess laughed out loud. Serial brothers? That's adorable.
Kids and their imagination. Sophie thinks I need more adult friends, so she's been unsubtly approving of our park plans.
Clara said something similar. Apparently, we're both socially deficient according to our daughters.
The joys of parenthood, being judged by tiny humans who still need help tying their shoes.
Jess curled her legs under her, settling more comfortably on the couch as she typed. Exactly. Yesterday, Eli lectured me on the importance of recycling while simultaneously leaving every light on in the house.
Max regularly informs me my sandwich cutting technique is all wrong, despite not being able to use a butter knife himself.
Their conversation continued, flowing easily from parenting foibles to favorite local restaurants, to a debate about the best season for outdoor activities in their small town. Jess was surprised by how comfortable she kept texting this man she'd only properly met that morning. When she finally glanced at the time, she was shocked to see it was almost midnight. I should probably get some sleep, she wrote reluctantly. 3 kids tend to wake up at the crack of dawn, regardless of what day it is.
I understand completely. See you tomorrow at 2?
We'll be there. Good night, Luke.
Good night, Jess.
As she set her phone down and headed to bed, Jess realized she was smiling. Not the tired smile of a mother who had successfully navigated another day of parenthood, but the smile of a woman who had connected with someone who understood her life in a way few others did. It had been a long time since she'd felt that way, and longer still since she'd allowed herself to hope for more than just getting through each day. Tomorrow was just a park playdate, she reminded herself as she changed into her pajamas. Nothing to get excited about, just 2 single parents supervising their children on a Sunday afternoon. But as she drifted off to sleep, the memory of Luke's smile and the easy flow of their conversation followed her into her dreams, warmth kindling in a corner of her heart that had been cold for too long.
Part 6. Luke. Midnight. Luke spoke into the silence as he set his phone down. He couldn't remember the last time he'd stayed up texting someone like a teenager. Yet here he was, smiling at his screen like an idiot because Jess had sent a laughing emoji in response to his story about Max's preschool art project gone wrong. The house was silent around him. Sophie and Max long since asleep. This was usually his time to catch up on work emails or read, but tonight he'd spent it texting with a woman he'd met when they almost sideswiped each other in the cereal aisle. Life was strange sometimes. After Becky died, Luke had thrown himself into work and parenting, leaving little room for anything else. His sister Renee had tried to set him up a few times, but the dates had been disasters. Uncomfortable dinners with women who either treated him like a charity case or seemed intimidated by his status as a widower with children. But talking with Jess was different. There was no pressure, no expectation, just 2 single parents sharing the absurdities and challenges of raising children alone. Luke got ready for bed, his mind still buzzing pleasantly from the conversation. It had been so long since he'd felt this kind of connection with someone that he'd forgotten what it was like. The pleasure of finding someone whose sense of humor aligned with yours, who understood your challenges without explanation. As he lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, Luke allowed himself to acknowledge the spark of hope that had ignited in his chest. Not necessarily romantic hope. It was too soon for that, and he wasn't sure he was ready, but hope for a new friendship, a new connection in a life that had become too routine. Becky would approve, he thought. She had always encouraged him to make new friends, to expand their social circle beyond just family and colleagues. Life's too short to go it alone, she used to say, and her early death had proven just how right she was. The thought of Becky didn't bring the usual sharp pang of grief. Instead, there was a gentle ache, a bittersweet remembrance that seemed more like gratitude than pain. Progress, his therapist would say. Luke's last thought before drifting off to sleep was of Jess's laugh. Not the polite chuckle she'd used in the store, but the full, genuine laugh he'd imagined when she'd texted LOL in response to his worst dad joke. He wanted to hear that laugh in person, he realized. Wanted to see if her eyes crinkled at the corners when she was truly amused. Tomorrow, he promised himself as sleep claimed him. Tomorrow at the park, maybe he'd find out.
Part 7. Jess. Sunday afternoon arrived with the kind of perfect late summer weather that seemed designed for park outings, warm sunshine tempered by a gentle breeze, with just enough clouds to provide occasional shade. Jess had packed a bag with snacks, water bottles, sunscreen, Band-Aids, and all the other essentials of parenting, while Clara helped get her brothers ready.
Are you sure this isn't a date, Mom?
Clara asked quietly as they loaded everyone into the minivan. Positive, Jess replied firmly. It's just kids playing at the park while parents supervise. That's all.
Then why did you change your outfit 3 times?
Jess's face grew hot. Her observant daughter had a point. She had indeed tried on several outfits before settling on a casual sundress that was comfortable but flattering. I just wanted to look nice for a change, instead of wearing my usual weekend clothes. Clara didn't look convinced but let the subject drop, focusing instead on helping Noah with his shoes. As they drove to the park, Jess was uncharacteristically nervous. The easy rapport she'd established with Luke over text felt suddenly fragile in the face of a real-life meeting. What if it was awkward? What if the kids didn't get along as well as they had in the store?
Mom, are you okay?
Clara asked from the back seat.
You missed the turn.
Just thinking, Jess said, making a U-turn at the next intersection. Thanks for paying attention. When they pulled into the park's parking lot, Jess spotted Luke immediately. He was sitting on a bench near the playground, watching as Max climbed on a play structure designed to look like a pirate ship. Sophie was nearby, reading a book in the shade of a large oak tree.
There they are!
Eli shouted, unbuckling his seatbelt before Jess had even turned off the engine. Wait until the car stops completely, Jess reminded him, putting the van in park. And stay together, please. As they approached, Luke stood, a smile spreading across his face that made Jess's stomach do a little flip.
You made it,
He said, as if he'd been worried they might not come. We did, Jess replied, returning his smile. Though, we almost took a detour, thanks to my questionable navigation skills.
Max has been asking every 5 minutes when you'd get here.
Luke said, gesturing to where his son was now waving frantically from the top of the play structure.
Eli! Noah! Come see the pirate ship!
Max called out. No further invitation was needed. Eli raced off toward the playground, Noah toddling behind as fast as his little legs could carry him.
I'll keep an eye on them.
Clara offered, surprising Jess with her initiative. Thanks, honey, Jess said gratefully.
Sophie's over there if you want to say hi.
Luke told Clara, pointing toward his daughter. Clara nodded and headed in Sophie's direction, trying to appear casual, though Jess could tell she was pleased to have another girl her age to talk to.
So,
Luke said, turning back to Jess.
here we are.
Here we are. Jess agreed, suddenly feeling shy despite their hours of texting the night before.
I brought snacks.
Luke said, gesturing to a cooler beside the bench.
Nothing fancy, just some fruit crackers and those cheese sticks that are inexplicably the most exciting food in the world, according to Max.
Jess laughed. Eli goes through phases where he'll only eat those cheese sticks. I think it's the peeling part that appeals to him.
Kids are weird.
Luke said fondly, his eyes tracking Max as he showed Eli how to do a trick on the slide. The weirdest, Jess agreed, but in the best possible way. They sat down on the bench and fell into easy conversation about their children, the park, and the perfect weather. The awkwardness Jess had feared never materialized. Instead, talking with Luke in person was as natural as their texting had been. From where they sat, they could watch all 5 children, Sophie and Clara now sitting together under the tree, heads bent over Sophie's book, while the boys engaged in an elaborate game that seemed to involve the pirate ship being attacked by invisible sea monsters.
So,
Luke said during a lull in their conversation,
You teach music at the elementary school?
I do. Jess nodded. It's chaotic and underpaid, but I love it. There's nothing quite like watching a child connect with music for the first time,
I can imagine.
Luke said.
Sophie played violin for a while. She was enthusiastic, just not particularly talented.
Jess laughed. That describes about 80% of my students, but enthusiasm is more important than talent at that age, I think.
What about you? Do you play an instrument?
Luke asked. Piano, primarily, but I can fake my way through most instruments well enough to teach beginners, Jess admitted. I wanted to be a concert pianist when I was younger, but life had other plans,
3 adorable other plans.
Luke said, nodding toward her children. Exactly. And I wouldn't trade them for anything, even a concert hall. Jess smiled, then turned the question back to him. What about you? You briefly mentioned you're an electrician,
I am.
Luke confirmed.
I have my own small business, mostly residential work, some commercial. It's not glamorous, but it's steady, and I can usually arrange my schedule around the kids.
That's the dream, Jess said sincerely. Flexibility is worth its weight in gold when you're a single parent. Luke nodded, his gaze turning thoughtful.
It wasn't always easy to achieve. After Becky, my wife, died, I was working for a larger company. The hours were brutal, and I missed too many of Sophie's school events. Starting my own business was terrifying, but it was the right move for us.
The casual mention of his wife's death hung in the air between them. Jess had gathered from their texts that Luke was a widower, but this was the first time he'd mentioned his wife by name. I'm sorry about your wife, Jess said softly.
Thank you.
Luke replied, his eyes on the children playing.
It's been 2 years now. Some days it feels like forever ago, and some days it feels like yesterday.
Jess nodded, understanding. It comes and goes. Just when you think you're steady, it sneaks back up on you. Luke looked at her, surprise and appreciation in his expression.
Yes, that's exactly it. People think it should follow a timeline, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't, Jess agreed. She hesitated, then added, My dad died when I was in college. It's not the same as losing a spouse, I know, but I remember how people seemed to expect me to be over it after a certain amount of time had passed.
As if you can just check grief off a to-do list.
Luke said with a rueful smile. Exactly. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching their children play. Noah had abandoned the pirate ship in favor of the sandbox, where he was diligently filling a bucket with sand while Max supervised. Eli remained on the ship, now apparently the captain defending against enemy forces.
What about your ex?
Luke asked carefully.
If you don't mind me asking.
Jess sighed. Jason and I divorced when Noah was a baby. He wasn't ready for the reality of parenting 3 children. He's in Seattle now, with his new wife and their perfect Instagram life. The bitterness in her voice surprised her. She thought she'd moved past that anger, but apparently some of it still lingered.
I'm sorry,
Luke said.
That must be hard on all of you.
It is what it is. Jess shrugged. The kids video chat with him sometimes, but visits are rare. He sends child support when he remembers, which isn't often enough. She forced a smile. But we manage. The kids are resilient, and we have a good life together. Luke nodded, his expression understanding rather than pitying, which Jess appreciated.
Kids are amazingly adaptable. Still, it can't be easy doing it all on your own.
Some days are better than others, Jess admitted. What about you? Do you have family nearby to help?
My sister Diane lives about 20 minutes away. She's been a lifesaver, especially in those first months after Becky died. And my parents try to visit from Florida a few times a year.
Luke smiled softly.
I'm lucky to have them.
That sounds nice, Jess said, a hint of wistfulness in her voice. My mom is in Arizona. She helps when she can, but it's mostly just me and the kids,
Well,
Luke said.
maybe we can help each other out sometimes. Carpooling, kid swapping for errands, that sort of thing.
The offer was practical, neighborly even, but his tone made Jess look up and meet his eyes. What she saw there, kindness, understanding, and maybe a hint of something more, made her heart beat a little faster. I'd like that, she said softly.
Me too.
Luke replied, holding her gaze for a moment before they both turned back to watch their children.
Part 8, Luke. Luke couldn't remember the last time he'd been so comfortable with someone new. Sitting beside Jess on the park bench, watching their children play together, felt right in a way he hadn't experienced since before Becky got sick. It wasn't that Jess reminded him of Becky, they were entirely different people. Becky had been outgoing and spontaneous, while Jess seemed more thoughtful and introverted. It was Jess's quiet strength and gentle humor that resonated with him.
Dad! Dad! Look what we found!
Max's excited voice interrupted Luke's thoughts. His son was racing toward them, something clutched in his tiny hand, with Eli and Noah close behind. "What is it, buddy?" Luke asked, leaning forward. Max opened his hand to reveal a smooth, flat stone.
It looks like a dinosaur.
Luke examined the rock, which with some imagination did resemble a dinosaur head in profile. "It sure does," he agreed. "That's a great find."
Eli helped me look for it.
Max said proudly.
And Noah found a treasure too.
Noah stepped forward, holding up a bent bottle cap, with the solemnity of someone presenting the crown jewels.
Wow, that's quite a treasure.
Jess said, matching her son's seriousness.
Where did you find it?
In the sand.
Noah replied, his face lighting up at his mother's interest.
It's pirate gold.
Absolutely.
Jess nodded.
Pirates are always leaving their gold buried in sandboxes.
Luke caught her eye over the children's heads, sharing a smile at Noah's imagination.
Can I keep my dinosaur rock?
Max asked, turning to Luke. Of course, Luke said. We can add it to your collection when we get home.
And my treasure?
Noah asked Jess.
We'll find a special place for it,
Jess promised. Satisfied, the boys ran back to the playground, their newfound treasures clutched tightly in their fists. They're getting along well, Luke observed.
They are.
Jess agreed.
It's nice to see. Eli sometimes has trouble making friends. He can be a bit intense for other kids.
Max is the opposite. He makes friends with everyone, but the friendships don't always stick because he's so young, Luke said. I worry about him starting kindergarten next year.
He'll be fine,
Jess reassured him.
From what I've seen, he has a great personality. Kids are drawn to that.
Thanks, Luke said, genuinely appreciative of her perspective. It helps to hear that from someone who works with children professionally. They fell into another comfortable silence, watching as Clara and Sophie joined the younger boys on the playground, organizing some kind of game that had all the children giggling. They're good kids, Luke said, a note of pride in his voice.
They are.
Jess agreed.
All of them.
The afternoon passed quickly, with the adults alternating between conversation and joining their children in play. Luke couldn't remember the last time he'd felt so relaxed, so present in the moment. When it was eventually time to leave, with the sun beginning its descent and dinner time approaching, Luke was reluctant to end the day. We should do this again, he said as they gathered their belongings. Maybe next weekend?
I'd like that,
Jess replied, her smile warming him more than the late afternoon sun.
The kids would too, I think.
Definitely, Luke agreed, watching as Max gave Eli a solemn high-five goodbye. As they walked to their respective vehicles, Luke slowed his pace, stretching out these last few moments together.
Thanks for today,
Jess said when they reached her minivan.
It was really nice.
It was. Luke agreed, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. I'm glad fate staged that cereal aisle traffic jam yesterday. Jess laughed, the sound light and genuine.
A cereal box avalanche has never led to anything so pleasant.
Luke smiled, memorizing the way her eyes crinkled at the corners when she laughed. I'll text you about next weekend.
Please do.
Jess nodded.
And maybe before then, too.
The hopeful note in her voice gave Luke courage. Definitely before then. As he watched Jess drive away, her minivan filled with tired, happy children, Luke felt a little of the weight he'd carried for so long lift, just enough to imagine what might come next. Later that evening, after Max was asleep and Sophie was reading in her room, Luke sent Jess a text. Thanks again for today. It was the highlight of my weekend. Her response came quickly.
Mine too. The kids haven't stopped talking about it.
Same here. Max has already asked 3 times when we're going to see his serial brothers again.
Eli has the dinosaur rock on his bedside table. It's apparently his most prized possession now.
Luke smiled at his phone, imagining Jess on the other end, perhaps curled up on her couch after putting her children to bed, just as he was. I meant what I said about helping each other out, he texted. Parenting alone isn't easy, but maybe it could be a little less alone. There was a pause before her response came through.
I'd like that. A lot.
Luke stared at those simple words, warmth spreading through his chest. It wasn't a declaration of anything dramatic, just an acknowledgement of connection, of possibility. Me too, he wrote back. Good night, Jess.
Good night, Luke. Sweet dreams.
Luke smiled as he set his phone down. For the first time in a long time, he was looking forward to more than just getting through another day. He was looking forward to possibilities, of friendship, of connection, and maybe one day, love again. In the quiet of his living room, with the house settled around him, Luke allowed himself to hope. It was a small hope, fragile and new, like a seedling pushing through soil toward the light. But it was real, and it was his, and for now, that was enough.
Part 9. Jess. Jess set her phone on the nightstand, her heart light in a way it hadn't been for years. The day at the park had been perfect, relaxed and fun, with none of the awkwardness she'd feared. Luke was easy to talk to, his humor and gentle way with the children revealing a depth of character that intrigued her. And the way he looked at her sometimes, when he thought she wouldn't notice, with interest and appreciation, but never in the evaluating way her ex-husband used to regard her, made her feel seen in a way she'd almost forgotten was possible.
Mom,
Clara's voice came from the doorway.
are you still awake?
Yes, sweetie. Come in. Jess patted the bed beside her. Clara patted across the room and climbed onto the bed, snuggling against Jess's side the way she used to when she was younger. These moments were becoming rarer as Clara approached her teen years, and Jess treasured each one.
I had fun today.
Clara said, resting her head on her mother's shoulder. I'm glad, Jess replied, stroking her daughter's hair. Sophie seems nice.
She is.
Clara nodded.
She's really smart, and she doesn't act all stuck up about it like some kids do. We saved each other's numbers in our phones, and she's teaching me how to play chess.
That's wonderful, Jess said, genuinely pleased. Clara had always been a bit of a loner, preferring books to most social activities. Finding a friend who shared her interests was a rare gift.
Luke is nice, too.
Clara added casually.
He helped me push Noah on the swing when you were getting snacks, and he didn't talk to me like I'm a baby.
He does seem nice, Jess agreed, equally casual. Clara lifted her head to look at her mother, her expression serious beyond her years.
You know it would be okay if you liked him.
Jess's cheeks warmed. It's a bit early for that kind of talk, don't you think? We just met yesterday.
I know,
Clara shrugged.
but I saw how you smiled when he was talking. You don't smile like that very often.
The observation, simple and direct in the way only children can be, struck Jess silent for a moment. Had she been so obviously affected? And was it true that she rarely smiled that way? Well, Jess said finally, right now, Luke is just a new friend. For all of us. And that's a good thing, isn't it?
It is.
Clara agreed, settling back against her mother's shoulder.
But if he becomes more than a friend someday, that would be okay too.
Jess kissed the top of her daughter's head, marveling at the wisdom of this child who had grown up too fast in many ways. Let's just take it one day at a time, okay?
Okay.
Clara agreed, yawning.
Good night, Mom.
Good night, sweetheart. After Clara had gone back to her own room, Jess turned off the light and lay in the darkness, thinking about the day's events. From the cereal avalanche to the park playdate to the text conversation that had just ended, everything with Luke felt natural, unforced. It was too soon to think about where this might lead. They were just two single parents who had connected over a grocery store mishap. But for the first time in years, Jess was open to possibilities beyond her carefully structured life of work and parenting. As she drifted toward sleep, Jess thought about Luke's text. Parenting alone isn't easy, but maybe it could be a little less alone. A little less alone. The words echoed in her mind, a promise of connection that was both thrilling and comforting. Whatever happened next, whether their relationship remained a friendship or evolved into something more, Jess was grateful for the chance meeting in aisle 9, for the cereal box avalanche that had somehow led to this moment of quiet hope. Sometimes, she thought as sleep claimed her, the most beautiful beginnings came from the most unexpected places, like a grocery store on a Saturday morning, amid the chaos of children and shopping carts and tumbling cereal boxes. And sometimes, if you were lucky, those unexpected beginnings led exactly where you needed to go. Author's note: thank you for listening to Love and Chaos in Aisle 9 by Lani Evans. This short story is exclusively found on Audiobook. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and click the subscribe button to be notified when these exclusives and my full-length audiobooks become available. Follow my social media pages to get notified when a new book is available. You can also sign up for my newsletter to get exclusive first peeks at the stories or covers. All links are below in the description. Thank you for your support.